pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Robert. Nice to see you here today. I guess we'll start off with item number 2. Are there any comments from the public on non-agendized items? We've got a full house of staff today. All right, moving on to item number 3. Are there any corrections to the agenda consent calendar? Nothing? Okay. Moving on to item 4, adoption of the consent calendar. Do we have a motion?
I'll move adoption of the consent calendar.
Second. Thank you. No items for number 5. Moving on to item number 6, presentation, capital improvement, and budget update from the Tahoe, Ms. Colby, and Andrew Sullivan.
I'll kick us off.
Okay.
Good afternoon, directors and members of the public. Megan Colby, Director of Engineering. Today we're providing an overview of the district's planned infrastructure investments, operational efficiency initiatives, and long-term planning efforts, and operation expense plans associated with our fiscal year 27 budget and capital improvement program. During the budget board workshop last month, we were requested to provide the staff presentation to the board prior to the upcoming vote on proposed rates. The presentation is intended to provide context around the district's infrastructure investment needs, highlight several of the major projects planned over the next 2 fiscal years, and discuss some of the operational and technology improvements underway to improve efficiency and strengthen our long-term infrastructure and operational planning. The district maintains extensive water, wastewater, recycled water, and export systems infrastructure that support our community every day. It includes over 250 miles of water pipeline, more than 330 miles of sewer collection pipeline, critical water supply wells, storage tanks, sewer pump stations, treatment facilities, and the recycled water export infrastructure. Maintaining and reinvesting in this infrastructure is essential to protecting public health, supporting reliable utility service, emergency preparedness, and preserving our Lake Tahoe environment. This chart shows planned sewer infrastructure investment areas over the next 10 years. Investment is distributed across multiple parts of the wastewater system, including sewer pipeline rehabilitation, wastewater treatment facilities, pump stations, export infrastructure, and long-term asset management initiatives. The district is taking a phased approach to reinvesting in aging infrastructure while continuing to prioritize reliability, environmental protection, and long-term system sustainability. A similar long-term investment approach is also being applied across the district's water infrastructure. So this chart shows the planned water infrastructure investments over the next 10 years. The largest portion of our planned investment continues to focus on water line replacement projects. These projects are driven by infrastructure conditions, system reliability, fire flow improvements, and long-term replacement of aging pipelines throughout our community. The CIP also includes significant investment in water supply resiliency projects, including new wells, booster station improvements, transmission infrastructure, and the rehabilitation of critical water storage facilities. Together, these projects support reliable water service, emergency preparedness, operational efficiency, and long-term sustainability of our system. Like utilities throughout California and across the country, the district continues to experience significant increases in infrastructure costs and operational expenses. Construction cost escalation in recent years has exceeded historical averages, with many material supplies and equipment experiencing double-digit cost increases. The district is also seeing increased costs associated with energy usage, regulatory compliance, and specialized contractor services. These cost pressures reinforce the importance of long-term infrastructure planning, project prioritization, operational efficiency improvements, and the strategic use of available funding programs. In addition to infrastructure reinvestment, the district is also implementing operational efficiency improvements intended to help and reduce long-term operating costs. In January 2026, the district's new 1 megawatt solar power generation facility came online here at the treatment plant. This facility is expected to offset up to a third of the treatment plant's annual electrical demand and is estimated to reduce annual energy costs by up to $190,000. Over the projected 30-year life of the facility and assuming approximately a 3.5% annual energy cost escalation, total estimated savings from this project could approach $9 million. This project represents an investment not only in sustainability, but also in long-term operational efficiency and fiscal responsibility. This slide highlights several of the major wastewater and export system projects planned over the next 3 fiscal years. The projects focus on environmental protection, wastewater treatment reliability, rehabilitation of aging sewer infrastructure, and long-term export system resiliency. Major investments include the rehabilitation of the Bijou Sewer Pump Station, which is centered around operational safety and improving reliability. Treatment plant improvements such as the Ballast Pond concrete rehab and the RAS pump station replacement project. We'll begin working on the C-line rehab replacement alternatives analysis, planning, and design. We're coupling the engineering efforts with a focus to secure low-cost, long-term financial support for that project. And we have projects coordinated with regional environmental restoration initiatives such as the Baldwin Beach Gravity Sewer Realignment to get the sewer line and the manholes off the beach. Together, these projects support long-term system reliability while helping to protect our Lake Tahoe environment. This slide highlights several of the major water infrastructure projects planned over the next few fiscal years. These projects focus on replacing aging infrastructure, improving water supply resiliency, increasing fire flow capacity, and maintaining reliable service throughout our district. Major investment projects include the Pioneer Trail water line, which will connect our state line zone to the Myers area and improve water supply redundancy, the drilling of 2 critical water supply wells in the state line zone, which is our largest customer base, rehabilitation and backup power supply at 2 critical water supply wells in the Tahoe neighborhood, and then recoding and rehabilitation of the district's 2 largest water storage tanks, the state line storage tanks, which will be completed over the summer and next. We also have several water line replacement projects spanning across the district service area. These projects support long-term water supply reliability, emergency preparedness, and operational resiliency. In addition to investing in physical infrastructure improvements, the district is also investing in the systems and tools used to manage infrastructure and deliver projects more cost-effectively. Staff are implementing technology, workflow, and organizational improvements intended to improve efficiency, strengthen coordination, support long-term planning, and maximize the value from our capital investments. These efforts include continued implementation of the next-gen enterprise asset management software, GIS utility network improvements, Procore construction management software, and standardized project management workflows. The district is also improving in data collection and condition assessment through CCTV inspection programs, satellite leak detection, water and sewer modeling efforts to support a more proactive infrastructure reinvestment planning. Finally, the engineering department has undergone organizational restructuring intended to improve accountability, better balance project responsibilities, and support long-term, cost-effective capital project delivery. Together, these initiatives support a more proactive infrastructure management program and improve the district's ability to deliver complex capital projects efficiently and responsibly. In the past year, the district has initiated a phased CIP rebuild and long-term planning effort intended to better align our infrastructure investment, project sequencing, workforce capacity, operational priorities, and financial planning. The first phase included a review and reprioritization of the existing CIP, coordination workshops with operations staff, evaluation based on critical infrastructure reliability, environmental protection, and secure project funding. The next phase includes development of a comprehensive water and sewer strategic plan that will help guide infrastructure investments over the next 20 to 30 years using a more detailed, risk-based planning approach. All of this work supports long-term goals to support sustainable reinvestment, improve coordination between water and sewer infrastructure planning, and strengthen long-term system reliability and resiliency. Engineering staff are also improving how infrastructure projects and long-term planning efforts are communicated to the public. The updated CIP webpage and interactive GIS story map will allow the community to explore projects geographically and better understand upcoming infrastructure investments and construction activity. The CIP story map platform will continue to expand over time as additional projects and infrastructure information becomes available so that it completely represents the long-term planning horizon. These tools improve transparency, provide easier public access to public information, project information, and support better communication with our community. And now I'll turn it over to Adrian Coombs, our Director of Operations, so he can discuss operations.
Thank you, Megan, and good afternoon, Board. I've got a couple slides here. I'm just going to go over some of our big ticket items for the next fiscal year. Got a few items and a few programs that are new to operations. So the first one I'll go over is for the water fund. We have a couple of key pieces of equipment. How do you make this bigger so I can read it?
Sorry, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So first couple items, key pieces of equipment that we use are a vacuum truck. Vacuum truck is used for vacuum excavation. We use them on all of our leaks. Allows us to dig without a backhoe. We have 2 vacuum trucks for the water department, and at some point in our dig season last year, both vac trucks were down. We had to do a rental. And so this new vac truck gives us a chance to basically take one out of service during construction season and still be completely operational. We've got an old dump truck that we're replacing. That's $100,000. That vacuum truck, by the way, $800,000. Definitely an expensive piece of equipment. We've been trying to buy spare pumps and motors. We've seen lead times of about a year on a lot of these, and so we've got a Paloma well pump and motor spare that we're purchasing, $250,000. We've got a new line item here for miscellaneous water line replacements. The past 2 years I've been in this position, we've had to do emergency water line replacements. Last year, if you remember, there was the line on Sacramento Ave that we found was 9 inches deep. The year prior to that was Sterling Court. We were having issues with water quality iron due to deteriorating pipes. And so both those projects were about $300,000. I expect to have more of these as our water system continues to age, and we're really not sure what the next one's going to pop up to be. We have a dual main elimination program for $200,000. We have a lot of streets that have 2 pipes in the street when we really only need one. A lot of those lines are typically old 2-inch steel line and maybe like a 6-inch steel line or something larger. The purpose of this program is basically to transfer surfaces off of the older, smaller line to the larger one and eliminate the second line, which is another chance for leaks. Also will help with water quality just to not have extra, typically dead-end pipes in the system. The next one is the dead-end improvement program. We've been installing blow-offs on all of our dead ends. This is very typical in a water system that you need to flush your dead ends annually. Prior, we didn't have a way to do that, and so we've been installing the little green fire hydrants around town on these dead ends, or we've been abandoning, like if there's a pipe that goes to nothing, we'll abandon it back at the main, like at the T. Or we've been looping areas that, if that's possible, so that we have, better flow through the neighborhoods as well. So this $150,000 is to continue with that program. We've got $100,000 for a fire hydrant replacement program. We started a fire hydrant assessment program here at the district right around when I started. I'm going to say 2020-ish, actually right before the Caldor fire. And, we've had lots of old fire hydrants that have needed fixing or replacing, and this money is to continue with that program. And then the valve replacement program, also a new one. We started a valve exercising program last year. We bought a nice valve exercising truck, and now we've been using it. We've been finding lots of valves that do not work. And so this is to replace those valves. In fact, just earlier this week over at the bottom of Cold Creek, we found 3 valves that didn't work, super high pressure, and so we're planning on replacing 3 broken valves there in the immediate future. And for the sewer fund, you know, we've got a few items here. There are 2 spare pumps. One of them is for Luther Pass. It's for the 1,000 horsepower. We bought one to replace pump number 3 this year. It's currently in production. This is like about a 1-year lead time. The one we just purchased was $750,000. And so we're looking at a similar price for the next one. And then the other pump that we're purchasing is a spare for Tahoe keys. That was one of our big 5 that was rehabbed a couple of years ago, and this is just to have a spare pump on hand. We've got 2 pieces of equipment we're looking at, a new excavator for $350,000 that would primarily be used in Diamond Valley to clean ditches and do other work around the ranch. And the other big piece of equipment is to replace one of our sewer hydros. That's what we use to clean the gravity system. This is a piece of equipment that prevents spills, really saves us. Last year they were able to clean the entire gravity system, and this is just a replacement for one of those. And then we have the Diamond Ditch Rehab. So last year we had some seeps along our concrete line section of Diamond Ditch. We basically had some failed crack seal. And we hired a contractor to come out and basically fix those couple of sections. We did 800 feet, and it was about $75,000. And we're estimating to do the entire concrete line section of Diamond Ditch, it's going to be about $1 million. So that's another big ticket item. Any questions? With that, I'll pass it to Andrea.
Good afternoon. Take a few moments to go over some of the basics of the budget. For fiscal year 27, we have our projected water and sewer total of $64.8 million. The largest portion of revenue that we receive is $43.4 million, which is our service charges. Right now, what is projected in the budget includes a 6.5% increase over last year for both the water and sewer fees. The next largest chunk we have is the property taxes at 13.2 or 21%, and we round out obviously with our investments and other, and then our grants of $4.8 million. Although our grants represent 7% of our revenue, I do have to state that over last year it is a 130% increase. Last year we had about $2.2 million in grants, and this year we have 4.7. So that's super exciting that we're going in the right direction. That's obviously advantageous to the district because we don't have to pay those funds back. Next, we have our projected water and sewer expenditures of $89 million. Our largest portion is capital projects of $35 million, which is 39%. One thing I do want you to keep in mind is that this is just not the engineering portion. This also includes capital items that all other departments purchase. It's essentially anything that's over $5,000. So it includes the capital improvement projects that Megan was discussing earlier, as well as the department expenditures. Next, we have our salaries and benefits, which is about $27 million, 30%, followed by operating and maintenance of roughly 18.5%, which includes all our utilities, sewer, water, Liberty Utilities, all that type of thing, contracted labor. And we round out with our debt service, which is about 10%. Our debt service is the interest and principal from our loans that we currently have on hand. Next, I want to talk a little bit about our rates. So we are proposing a 6.5% increase effective July 1st of 2026, both for water and for sewer. For the water, it would be an increase of about $5.14 for the average residential customer. That equates to somebody who has 3/4 inch connection, 3 sewer units, and uses about 4,500 gallons of water. And then for the sewer, it's about 4.24 or $4.24, excuse me. So roughly $9.38 increase per month is what we are projecting and what we are recommending. Obviously, if we adopt rates lower than this, we would have to reassess not only capital improvement projects, but perhaps some of our other expenses to reduce those. And just want to restate, we always try and obtain loans and grants when we can. Anything that's at a lower interest rate, grants are always the preference. We can't always obtain grants in regards to what we're working on at that point in time. But I also do want to stipulate and reiterate what Megan had said, that when we are looking especially at our capital improvement projects, those include escalations for inflation. So the district is also experiencing the same increase in gas, utilities, transportation expenses, every type of cost right now is increasing for the district as well as it is for our community. So with that being said, we have communicated all these rates both to our customers through emails, through our bills that have been sent out. We had an attachment with our bill and through a press release. We have received some feedback in regards to the proposed increases, and I'm actually going to let Shelley come chat about those quickly.
Good morning, board members, or afternoon, Saturday afternoon. Shelley Thompson, Director of Public and Legislative Affairs. So as a public water and sewer agency, you guys know more than anyone that it's so important that our customers who own and will be using this system into the future are aware of what we're doing. So for outreach, we updated our website, both our rate change website as well as our capital improvement program. The bills that went out in May had a message on them about proposed rate changes, advertising this meeting, as well as linking folks to the capital improvement program page to learn more about our projects. We sent out a press release at the beginning of May that was picked up by both the Tribune and South Tahoe Now. I've had 2 interviews with Lake Tahoe Television, and we sent a email to all of our customers. We have over 12,000 customer email addresses on file, and of those emails, we saw a 66% open rate, which is a great way to contact with our community. So in terms of feedback received from that outreach, we've received 23 customer emails. I included all of the content on that document in front of you. I'm going to summarize the results, but I think it's important for you to be able to read them as well. So of those 23 emails, 14 were against the proposed rate increase. And the most common concern that was cited with these is just the these increases in daily costs and inflation that our community is feeling, right, at the gas pump, utility bills, grocery stores. We heard from 3 second homeowners that were also against the rate increase with the concern that they're rarely up here using it and that the bill is so high. We also received 4 folks that just all asked the same question of, didn't you raise the rates last year? Why are you raising them again? And then 3 folks that emailed that understood and supported our rate increase, recognizing our needs. We also received customer service, received 1 phone call from a customer also against the proposed increases. Yeah, so that is what we have seen thus far today. Any questions?
Appreciate putting this together. Ryan, I know you and your crew is kind of on the front lines taking the brunt of a lot of the public feedback and listening and responding a little more on the real-time basis. So definitely appreciate that, first of all. Just kind of wanted to put it out there on the record that, these concerns obviously are justified. However, I think we have put a lot of information out, hopefully, addressing some of these things, because I think the lack of clarity in terms of our 208 process and running through our rate setting and how that gets really set up on an annual basis. So it's not the shot in the arm and the full big percentage that would be very much more noticeable. I think that we may need to explain a little further, but also doing the same thing as last time, I think we can help with that as well, right? And trying to address that, and that's a more methodical approach that's probably easier for folks to, you know, financially accept or financially be able to pay it. And then the last one was, I appreciate the press release and the information that was produced in terms of the CIP website and just the ease of access of that and the information that's there. I think driving people to that to see what they get and just being clear that it's not just this one rate increase that's going to give us that, right? That we have kind of a schedule here that we need to maintain. And then the other message that I wanted to make sure we got out there and I wanted to put out on the record is that, you know, our 218 process, 218, I have 208 plan, water quality. 218 process had a 9% proposed, 9.5% proposed increase, and we're back that down to 6.5, and that does have a lot to do, as the presentation showed, with efficiencies, our solar project, like the things that we are actively doing. So we're just not blindly raising rates, right? And so I think that's really important to get out there, and I appreciate the press release and the information that did to try to get that out there. Thanks.
I mean, I would just say as I read the comments, I kind of took it as success to the outreach that was commenced with, right? I would say just generally with an open rate, you know, that you expressed, Shelley, the volume of comments we've received, I think that unto itself is an answer for me. And then second to that, as I read these comments, lots of them are, you know, kind of more broad, just frustrations with us in relationship to everything else is going on in the economy. And I empathize in I'm sure everyone does here in a deep, deep way. But again, I would say this, one, getting to the 6.5%, you know, that process, and great work for everyone doing that. And then to the outreach, I think was incredibly successful, you know, in line with what Nick said. As a result, and I think these comments really reflect that. So, yeah, again, I guess just, you know, echo what Nick said, you know, great job, everybody. You know, and I think ultimately people understand what we have to do and that we're experiencing the same just general increase of cost across the board as well. And so, no, I think, yeah, no, I think you guys have done a great job with the outreach.
I guess I'll just comment on, again, thank you for the messaging and getting it out there. And again, I think hitting it a little bit harder on the 9.5% versus 6.5% and really hitting hard on those things that we are doing to basically, hopefully, alleviate some of the increases that could be realized if we weren't doing some of the things we're doing. So I think that's important. And I also want to commend staff for this presentation. I think this is the kind of presentation I think as we go into these capital improvement program workshops or budget workshops, this is kind of what I was looking for. It's fresh, it's new, it's really hitting the target in terms of identifying more specifically what our horizon looks like in terms of where we're going to be investing in our capital improvement program. So thank you for that.
Sorry, just one thing I would note. I actually don't think saying that we could have gone higher is effective or a good strategy. I just don't think it's a good strategy. And I mean, I could give a lot of reasons why, but like we should be talking about how we work to keep it as low as possible. But saying, hey, we could have done 9.5%, I would avoid that. Sorry,
sense of opinion, and again, like that's something that we set forward, and we're really working hard to not have to raise rates to 9.5%. I guess that's, for me, this is an illustration of us working against that pressure to go 9.5%.
I just want to add on a couple things. First of all, you know that
No, real quickly, I remember my brother came home from college, and he was buying some very expensive electronics. He was going to tell his newly married wife about it, and he explained to me she wouldn't be mad because he was going to spend double what he actually spent. And I laughed, and I said, let me be there when you tell her. It didn't go well for him. Just as an example, right? Because I just don't think it's an effective marketing strategy. But again, we can disagree. Sorry.
Just a reminder that, you know, the district does empathize with all the increases that our community is seeing. And just as a reminder that we do have a couple of customer assistance programs that you can qualify for. They'll call customer service. They'll help you sign up for it, see if you're qualified for it, and it's up to 400% of the poverty line. So please keep that in mind as well. A couple more charts to round this out. So,
sorry to interrupt. Can I ask one other question on that? Have you seen now while this outreach and this going on, has there been an uptake about people reaching out in terms of kind of both tiers, one of the tiers more than the other? Because there was definitely the comments from retirees in the comment document we were given.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Ryan Lee, the Customer Service Manager. Good question, Nick. So we looked at our enrollment earlier today, so I have those numbers. We really haven't seen a big uptick. We continue to message on the customer assistance programs. We had a really successful thing yesterday here where we offered some public tours, 3 public tours throughout the day, really well attended. So we saw some new enrollments actually come out of that. So during the tour, staff mentioned to the people who came out that these programs are available. We had a lot of older retired customers who came out. So we got a couple new enrollments, including in Tier 2. But right now, we haven't seen a huge growth in the program, even though we've kind of aggressively marketed that over the last couple of years, working with the board to kind of increase enrollment and increase awareness about that. So right now, basically, what we have is 501 customers are enrolled in Tier 1. So that is the original tier of the program that offers a 25% discount. And then we're still in Tier 2. Right now, we have 18. Earlier this year in March, we had 17. Looks like at the end of last year, 17. So we started that tier in the summer of 2024. And so at the end of 2024, we had 10. So we still have, real low participation in that second tier, which offers 15% discount. And that's the one that has those higher income thresholds, so up to 400% of the federal poverty limit. So that's kind of where we're at. We really haven't seen a lot of new enrollments. A couple have come out of this process. We tend to see them in July. If you actually adopt the proposed rates, that's when we actually get more calls historically from customers who notice that on their bills, and that's another opportunity for us to talk to them about these programs. But my staff has been talking to everybody who calls in about the customer assistance programs that we have available. So I think we're getting the word out there. I'm not sure, I still think that we have more customers that I would expect would qualify for especially that second tier. We've really made it easy to enroll. It's a self-certification. But yeah, to answer your question, we're not seeing huge increases in enrollment.
So what was your number for Tier 1 again?
Tier 1 right now is 500. And so going back to the end of 2024, that was at 450. We've seen about 50 people enroll in the last couple of years in Tier 1. And typically when we do the outreach, that's what comes out of it, is more enrollments in Tier 1 than Tier 2.
I think you guys have done a great job removing obstacles, from several years ago to now. I think it's just a challenge to kind of interact with people that don't want to be interacted with.
In customer service, it doesn't matter what industry, is always the front line, then they do the best. And so I appreciate the work you do.
Sorry, we keep interrupting Andrea here.
It's so good you can't get on a roll.
So in spite of the 6.5% proposed increase, you can see from this slide that SDPUD is still the lowest in the basin. And these rates are as of May 15th, so they have been updated for the budget board workshop, the most current for all of the service providers. And lastly, we have our next steps. As we all know, in May of 2026, there's a communication to customers about projects and proposed rates. That's been completed. The next step is on June 4th. The board will take action on the proposed fiscal year 2027 rate increase and the budget, and the new budget goes into effect July 1st of 2026. Any other questions?
Just really, can you go back to the bar chart real quick? Just a quick comment on that. The gap will even increase because all but one of these also has a fiscal year rate adoption. So the blue charts are all going to go up, I'm sure, as of July 1st. So it's even going to be a greater gap between us. I think TCPUD is on a calendar year.
And actually, Kingsbury has stayed at their rates and haven't had increases the last couple of years. So.
Yeah.
Kingsbury will be doing a rate increase in
yeah, rated up.
Okay.
One other quick comment real quick, just to put it in perspective when you're looking at these, the total number of these comments equate to about 0.1% of our customer base. And this is like the absolute easiest way you can comment. They just had to hit reply to the email that they received. So I think that's a testament to the public outreach we've done too.
I'm not sure if the board or that I have from a good source that Keene started increasing our rates in July. Any other questions?
Yeah, great. It was a really good presentation, all three of you.
Okay, any other conversation around that? No? Messaging? Just cough back up. All right. All right. We're going to move on to item 7A, the 2026 water meter installation project. Laura.
Good afternoon, directors. I'm here to talk one more time about the meters project for this summer. This project will be installing approximately 72 meters on our remaining residential properties that do not have meters. On March 19th, you all authorized staff to advertise for bids. We did the following week advertise for bids for this project. A pre-bid conference was held on April 9th with 9 contractors in attendance. And then at 10 a.m. on Friday, May 8th, we opened bids. We got 5 bids for this project ranging from $916,350 all the way up to $1,159,000. The engineer's estimate for this project was right in the middle of all of our bids at $967,800. And the lowest apparent bidder was White Rock Construction. Additionally, I'm here seeking that the board adopts the plan specifications and the 3 addendums that were issued during the bidding process. In adopting the project design plan, specifications, and addenda, the board complies with requirements of Public Contract Code Section 20201 and Government Code Section 830.6. Do you guys have any questions?
Do we anticipate any changes to scope or anything as we look through this? No? Okay.
Not anticipated. I think that we have a good idea that these are the last 72 remaining residential properties. We have a grant for this, and that is just for residential, so there are a few commercial properties that still are not metered. Most notably, the Rojo's complex doesn't have a meter currently, so they're still on a flat rate, but I think Trevor's pretty confident that these are the last 72.
And then was there any blowback from anybody that was requiring meters, so like for us to get these in, or is that?
No, we sent out 1 customer letter, and then there are 10 properties that we will have to go onto their private property. They have backyard service connections right now. We sent out direct mailing to all of those. I've gotten 3 back and plan to go do more outreach in the next couple of weeks.
Maybe it was more related to compliance with state rules or laws, or.
I don't think we've gotten any feedback.
Yeah. No, it's just been like this is just something that's been lingering out there, and they haven't been kind of leaning on us to get this taken care of, or.
We're the ones
on
the hook to comply with state regulations for meters. So.
Right, and so are we like behind schedule on that,
No.
or are we still, okay.
We'll be good.
This will get us right in there in our good graces. Okay, great, thank you. Any other?
Yeah, just thinking a little bit more about the state timeline.
I don't have the exact date off the top of my head, but I actually think it's 2027 for residential, and then commercial and industrial was a little bit later. And it also was based on your population size. I can definitely get all the actual dates and numbers to you and send it over, but we are very close to being in full compliance.
No.
We have not gotten any notices.
That's not my concern. Is spending nearly $1 million on these barbecue connections is like to me a waste of money. So I'm looking at it the inverse of the way you describe it. Like I'm far less concerned about the compliance, although we have to be compliant, than the rate discussions we're having, the volume of money we're spending. To know, like, yeah. So just why I was curious with the timeline, to see as our priority needs how far this could actually be pushed out for utilization of this money.
Well, we are going to lose the money that we got, the BOR grant, at the end of this year.
Oh, that's right.
So they're paying for half of it, so.
So it's only half a million.
$437. Keeping us under that 9.5% increase.
You gotta do it.
No, I gotta push back. We're not getting free money. We're like we're paying $400,000 to become compliant. So, like as the saying goes, grant money becomes very expensive in time, right? Everybody that deals with grants understands that. And so I think it's a pointless exercise. It's just I think just for the sake of the argument, like still a lot of money for 21 connections, right? Forgive me if I got that number wrong.
72.
But yeah, just with all the insurance we have, it's just a lot of money.
We've been talking about it for how long? There's not much you can do about it. It's been a lot of years, a decade.
Okay. Are we good here on the board? No more comments from the board? Do we have any public comments? I'm seeing none. What would you like us to consider, Laura?
Number 1, adopt the design plan, specifications, and addenda pursuant to California Government Code Section 830.6. Number 2, find minor irregularities in the bid from White Rock Construction Incorporated to be immaterial and waive immaterial irregularities. And number 3, award the contract for 2026 water meter installation project to the lowest responsible bidder, White Rock Construction, Inc., in the amount of $916,350.
One more comment before we vote, or before our motion. So nice to see that our estimates are coming in below our engineer's estimates.
And I'll make the motion on her request.
I'll second that.
Okay, moving on to item 7B, Tahoe Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project. I think it's going to be Brent today.
Good afternoon. This first one is the construction contract for the Tahoe Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project, and looking to award this project to Express Sewer and Drain Incorporated in the amount of $1,139,450. This project scope includes trenchless rehabilitation of some high-risk sewer mains in the Tahoe area. It's the east side of the Keys, the older side of the Keys, and so it's about 7,300 million feet of 6-inch pipe, 600 feet of 12-inch pipe, and 600 feet of 14-inch pipe, along with about 241 customer lateral connections that will basically they line the pipe and then go on the robot and cut that out to reinstate those laterals. So this project is a UV cured-in-place pipe. Looks like a giant saw that gets pulled in and soaked in epoxy. They inflate it and then cure it with UV light. So this is a much cheaper than open cut, probably about a quarter of the cost, versus going out there and digging up these pipes and replacing them. Should extend the life by about 50 years, the expected life of this liner. And then, this technology has a well-established track record across the country. We've done a few projects of our own. Back in 2018 was the most recent, also in the Tahoe area, where we learned how expensive it is when this type fails. And so that's really been driving this project forward. We've had good luck with those liners. We have a handful scattered throughout the system from years ago. This project is just pipeliners. We did actually been talking to Ivy on sewer crew lately about some mammals that we had in the 90s with a similar product. And they've actually been coming out. They were just on site on Monday looking at how well that product performed. And they're really surprised that this product put in the 90s has held up as well as it has. And looking to do more of that. And so I think, coming up in the future, we're going to have a lot more pipelines like this and more mammal lines. So construction for this project is expected to begin just after July 4th, and completion this summer. This project was competitively bid. We had 3 bids, ranged from the 1.1 million up to 2.2 million. And as well as awarding this contract. We're also asking to adopt addendum number 1, which clarifies some material installation details in addition to the plans and specs you already adopted, and then also with minor irregularities in the well spent. Any questions?
I guess I just have one. So once we line these pipes, do we have, like, what is the opportunity to go in and reline them? Is that pretty much you're done? Once you line it once, then you're probably replacing it down the road 50 years later, kind of thing?
Generally, yes. You're starting to get pretty narrow, especially in the super veins. You lose a little bit of capacity each time. You know, about 1 inch thick, so you're not losing a whole lot. You could probably do some spot repairs again in the future, but at some point, technology 50 years from now, maybe they'll have another way to do it. There is some other trenchless technologies such as pipe bursting, where you go in and kind of like split that pipe with a mechanical head, and that gives you room to pull in a new pipe. More expensive than this, but there are other technologies already out there that can do a replacement.
Appreciative of you looking for lower cost solutions to our challenges, so thank you for that. Any other comments from the board?
I was just like machine comment the redesign in terms of your solutions to big cost, which is a great job.
Okay, are there any comments from our public? Seeing none, what's like us to consider?
Nice long-winded action here. Number 1, adopt addendum number 1 to the design plans and specifications pursuant to California Government Code Section 830.6. Number 2, find minor irregularities in the bid from Express Sewer and Drain Incorporated to be immaterial and rate immaterial irregularities. And number 3, award the contract for the 2026 Tahoe Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project to the lowest responsible bidder, Express Sewer and Drain Incorporated, in the amount of $1,139,450.
Second?
Director Exxon, how are you going to vote?
Yes.
Director Sheehan, how are you going to vote? Yes. President Arnold, how are you going to vote?
Yes.
And Director Needham, how are you going to vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7C, I understand you're taking this one as well, and it's very well related to the previous item, which is Tahoe Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project.
Correct. So, same project. This is for to amend an existing task order with the consultant. They'll just do the design on the project for them to provide construction services during construction. So that's review of submittals and RFIs, contract administration, pre and post construction, CCTV. Basically supporting us with their expertise through construction, as well as providing full-time inspection during construction with somebody with experience with this work and to do all of that. The testing and, kind of a specialized observation to make sure this happens for respect and last for a long time. So this is something that we don't have in-house experience with our inspectors, but we are expecting to spend a lot of time out there with them, get our inspectors out there to learn it, as well as the engineers, and learn so that hopefully in the future we can do more and more of this in-house. Any questions?
Comments from the
What
board?
was the bidding climate on this one? Like, how many bids did you?
Yeah, so
Existing contract that you're amending additional scope on?
It's the design consultant.
Got it.
There might be for the
Now, okay.
Yeah, so they did, we did an RFP, and they gave a proposal back when we selected them for the design, and so then this is extending the contract to include construction. So it's more familiar with the project, pretty much always makes sense to utilize them for services during construction, and then they also have the capability to provide inspection
I'm
services.
just curious if we used them before this project?
Not for this type of work, but we've been working with them for a couple years on.
They didn't tell it happened, right?
Yeah, they've done other design projects and everything, but we're confident in their capability and support our needs.
They changed names a couple of years ago. That was my blank book. So yeah, they've been working for this for 10 years on other projects, but this is what's time for inspection services.
Yeah, originally, when I reviewed this during agenda review, I panicked a little bit, not so much, I just thought I was really kind of focused on the inspection side of it and just paying them $146,000 just for inspection, but there are other services that are bundled into this thing, so anyway. Okay, any other comments, questions? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, what would you like us to consider?
All right. Number one, approve the proposed scope of work to amend existing task order number 3 for Dow to provide engineering services during construction and construction inspection services of the Tahoe Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project. And number 2, authorize the general manager to execute amendment A to task order number 3 with Dow in the amount not to exceed $146,062.
I know. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to item 7D, Glenwood Rancho, Lake Tahoe Boulevard and Tahoe Mountain Waterline Project. Andrea.
Good afternoon, President, ROMSAS, and directors. District staff have been working with the State Water Resources Control Board to access a state revolving fund loan to finance the Tahoe Glenwood water upgrade. Resolution number 3330-26 approves installment sale agreement in an amount not to exceed $13,244,439, which is the current budgeted amount of the project. The loan includes a term of 30 years at an anticipated interest rate of 2.10%. The project is dependent on the funding source, and the associated annual debt service payment is built into the district's long-range financial forecast. Are there any questions?
I guess just, to the theme of the meeting today, and for the record, if we could just kind of highlight the need and the benefit, just, I know the best person to do that would be.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. No, I don't think I understood your question. I was just thinking it was a comment, so I apologize, Director. That's fine. So the Glenwood Rancho project is a project driven by not only fire flow improvements, but also condition-based. I believe we've also received an earmark.
We have applied for grant funding for the Glenwood Rancho portion of the project from the Tahoe Water for Fire Suppression Partnership, and we anticipate receiving $1.3 million in grant funds to offset the total cost of this loan agreement.
Correct. So that's the Glenwood Rancho that is scheduled for construction next summer. We have 90% design plans for that. We just got to finish it up. And then Lake Tahoe Boulevard and Tahoe Mountain Waterline project, we're combining those. They're in the same area into one construction project, but both, kind of separate with SRF. Those are slated for construction in 2028, and these are mostly driven by condition-based. So this is an area where we see excessive leaks. We've been working on those designs for a couple of years, and we submitted the applications for these in 2022,
I believe, 2022, 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, preliminary 22.
So again, these projects, they take a lot of time to get the funding, so it's important as we restructure the CIP as part of the reorganization is to get a lot of these designs on the shelf, prioritize them based on condition and fire flow, get the designs on the shelf so that as we go after funding, we can, we have kind of a backlog of design because they do take a couple of years to get the funding secured, and we're always looking for the low interest loans. It's a much better way to, finance these projects and keep our rates low to the public.
No, absolutely, I agree completely, but just again, for the record, the $13 million, right, when we get it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from our public? Seeing none, what would you like us to consider?
It is requested that the board approve resolution number 3330-26, the installment sale agreement resolution of the Board of Directors of the South Tahoe Public Utility District for the Glenwood Rancho, Lake Tahoe Boulevard, and Tahoe Mountain Water Line project.
Okay, I think Andrea, you're on deck again for item 7E, return activated sludge pump station replacement project.
District staff have been working on state revolving fund loans to finance the return activated sludge pump station replacement project. Resolution number 3331-26 approves the installment agreement in an amount not to exceed $19,440,896, which is the current budget amount of the project. The loan includes a term of 30 years at an anticipated interest rate of 2.3%. The project is dependent on the funding source, and an associated annual debt service payment is built into the district's long-range financial forecast. Megan, would you like to expand?
I'm ready this time. So the return activated, otherwise known as sludge, otherwise known as the RAS pump station replacement project. This is our last remaining legacy facility out here at the treatment plant. It's been in service since the 1960s. I believe Director Haven and Ron Post have been on a tour and seen all the good things about it. But this is really the heart of our plant. So this is where we're sending our activated sludge back to the aeration basins to help with our treatment process. And then there is a waste line that goes back to headworks. This building, we did do a seismic study right before I started, so probably 2023. And this does have some seismic concerns for safety. This is a facility that needs to remain in operation if we were to have an earthquake or any other kind of event. And so when we were looking through the alternatives analysis and considering whether we could rehab the existing facility, there's a good portion of it that is actually underground, below grade, which is where our pumps sit. And there's a lot of concrete degradation with the wet well and the concrete building itself. The seismic retrofit would have just made that pump house or the pump room down the bottom even more condensed. It's a very tight operating space. Our guys can't really move equipment around. There's pump or pipe manifolds in there. And so as we went through the alternatives analysis, it was going to be very prohibitive to do the upgrades, plus it was going to impact operations. So that's when we decided to look at the alternatives to do a replacement pump station. We have available space out here, and basically modernize this, the RAS system, get us, new electrical equipment, new pumps, new motors, everything operating efficiently, reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And so that is how we ended up with this pump station project. Again, another project that we're securing low interest long-term financing for, but a very critical piece to our treatment process.
All right, just a question for Andrea. So as we, burden ourselves with these new loans, we're kind of calculating, bringing that into our budget and trying to estimate kind of what our interest and principal basically as that runs out over time. And we have a sense of the magnitude of what that looks like. These two items we just kind of talked through.
It all depends on the timing of the repayment as well. Typically, for the SRF loans, we don't have to start repaying until a year after construction is completed. So I do have a schedule that tracks all of that, and it's all included in the forecast. Like if you remember when we looked at the expenditures, there's a debt service portion, which is the principal and interest for that. In addition, we are also required to keep 1 year's worth of debt service in a reserve on our books too. So we are accounting for that as well. So even in the 10-year projection, any type of private borrowing or SRF loans that we're looking at, I estimate the payback date, make sure that we're also hitting our debt ratio of 1.2, that we're not going below that. So it's definitely a balancing act.
Gotcha. So it's going to, keep thinking about it. Sounds like it's not going to really come to fruition for a while, but I just want to make sure we're aware of it. Cool. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Just out of curiosity, why is it the interest rate?
Depends on what the market is at that time. Timing, yeah.
Yeah, it really is the timing, Nick, because the SRF program is funded periodically, and it's either with federal funds or state funds. And when it's funded with state funds, it's due to the fact that the state has issued bonds. And so the interest rate is determined based on whatever they got on their bonds. Yeah.
Okay, are we done? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, would you like us to consider, Andrea?
It is requested that the board approve resolution number 3331-26, the install and payout agreement resolution of the board of directors of the South Tahoe Public Utilities District for the return activated sludge pump station replacement project.
I'll make a motion.
Second. I've got to say, it's really weird not having you stand at the podium.
I can take that.
Oh, you want to consider that? All right. Moving on to standing and ad hoc committees and liaison reports. You want to start, Stephanie?
Yeah, definitely. I had a chance to meet with Shelley and Paul and other group and several at Northern City regarding, our advancements of, our communal advancements of renewable energy, looking at everything going on with delivery, kind of all those various different items. We, fill in if there's anything I missed, but at a very high level, we're looking at a few different options, and there's greater collaboration between the city and SDPUD in regard to how we're utilizing our lobbyists and connections at the state level and so forth to advance kind of our communal goals of stabilization of ever-increasing energy rates. And so as of right now, there's an evaluation going into a community choice aggregate with Pioneer Energy. I believe that analysis is, looking to come to fruition sometime in the fall. And so at that point, we're going to see the viability of a CCA here locally, what that would mean to rates, what would that mean to our flexibility. We were very focused on things we talked about before in terms of tariff, what we can do behind the meter, as we're doing currently in other opportunities, transferring electrons across parcel boundaries and so forth. Also discussed the best way to bring this forward in the state legislature, given kind of our official and the toxicity that surrounds them now as a result of just political reality. We talked about champions we could conceivably look for, whether they be somewhere else in the state that has a unique relationship with Tahoe that could carry some weight and help us as we're dealing with both the legislature and the DPUC. As we continue to explore opportunities, in terms of what municipalization works and what are the opportunities of SDPUD. I think subsequent to that meeting, we've seen that Liberty, that kind of date had changed to 2027 now, I believe, for the termination of Embry Energy Liberty. And so, in from today to kind of that period, looking to see what we can coordinate and utilizing what's going on in terms of change to the best kind of leverage point for the district and our ratepayers to both generate, energy on our behalf and be able to kind of maximize the opportunity that this with a direct partnership with the city. So I thought it was a really positive discussion, and then we're going to have a further conversation coming in like a month and a half.
Just ask a quick question, like as you reach any kind of milestones or just informational milestones, it would be good to have a presentation, I think, to the board so that we can have just a fruitful discussion. I don't think it's a good time to have a discussion right now under this item, but just I'm pretty interested in that as well, just to see where we're going with that, and just I'll leave it up to maybe Nick and staff to kind of figure out when the best time to do that is.
I agree. I think I learned a lot at that meeting in terms, in particular from Sarah at the city and Hillary in terms of things they've been doing. So a lot of it was kind of an educational space from them about what, their outreach, what they've been doing. So I would like, whenever it's appropriate, I think it's a great idea. But I think, collaboration beyond that, getting agreement, because I know everyone locally is interested, and I think it's a good idea.
Yes, and the Liberty customer, there is, you gave this one, why you guys put in the time to be involved in the conversation.
And I think it was really, I left it more positive probably than I did going in. I think the work the city had done was more than I would have anticipated. The outreach kind of, as it's on, and I knew Sarah had been at it for a long time, but so I left it more optimistic. But no, I think it's really important.
So I guess this is technically for the ad hoc and standing committee, so I guess this is somewhat affiliated with our sustainability subcommittee.
Yeah, kind of impromptu meetings where we want to play.
Yeah, okay, that's fine, but that sounds to me like we are going to maybe have this as an agenda item for maybe our next system efficiency meeting, so that'd be good. We can kind of work through that front. Great. Anything else, Nick? And then ops meeting?
Yeah, we had, both Joel and I attended. Joel wasn't here to chime in. A lot of the things we just voted on the agenda, the consent calendar, and are going to be addressed in closed session, I guess. But we talked about the advanced clean sweeps regulation, and I think we are all in agreement that we need to have like a strategic plan. And yeah, like I said, I mean, most of it we've already gone over. It's dig season too. That was the big. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have any meetings. There's a meeting that we had just before this board meeting, but I'll let Paul cover that as part of his GM report. And then I think Nick, we can move on to you.
Yeah, the Colorado Water Agency, we met last week. They're kind of in budget cycle as well. So some good highlights for the district is we've been working, our staff's been working very closely with the water agency and our groundwater sustainability agency role in the basin, and trying to get some assistance from the water agency regarding to that type of planning and reporting work. So it looks like they're reserving half of the cost of doing some reporting, but also some other work to really reevaluate our role, not our role, but our designation in terms of stigma, which is some acronym that I'm not going to try to rattle out right now, but $74,500 from an Colorado Water Agency, which is half of the cost of that. And Mark walked in perfect timing. But he's been working really hard on that for the stigma and GSA work, so I appreciate that. Working with the water agency on that, so we'll see where that goes in terms of that relationship and trying to, really potentially offload some of our planning work and really focus on supplying water, right? Which I think is our bread and butter. So that was good news. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you. Moving on to item 9, board member reports. Anything? Nothing from me? Okay. Staff and training reports.
You got a couple of employee introductions. You want to start, maybe?
Sure, since I already stood up. I wanted to introduce Lucas Russell, right here sitting next to Brett. He is a new associate engineer. He joined us on Monday. Almost survived his first week. So you guys will be hearing from him. He's getting some project assignments from Brent, so hopefully he'll be seeing enough here bringing projects forward, and is part of our capital project delivery team. So I'm going to welcome.
Lucas, do you want to come up and give us a little bit about your background?
Yeah. I didn't prepare for that, but
we're cool.
We told I wasn't going to talk today.
I 10-minute limit for my stuff. So.
I appreciate that. Good afternoon, board. My name is Lucas Russell. This is day 4 on the job. This is Thursday. I spent the last 4.5 years working in the private sector for WestJS Associates down in the Sacramento area, doing some stormwater planning, modeling, everything stormwater essentially. I've been living up in Southwest Tahoe for the past year, working remotely, and was looking for the opportunity to do some work in my community. So jumped on the opportunity. I applied twice for this role, actually once last summer. Did some good networking. I think Shane, we might have met at the 75th anniversary tour very briefly, but anyways, successful application the second time around. Very excited to be here and contribute what I can via stormwater perspective and private sector perspective to the public sector and yeah, help out as much as I can.
Welcome aboard. Sorry to put you on the spot, but get it over with.
All right. Next one is not a new face, but a newly promoted employee.
Are they ready to come up to the podium?
They're ready. There we go.
So, I'm going to say it was last week we had a retirement party. Kyle Schwaben was here for 36 years, started right out of high school, retired, and we had interviews. We had a lot of great, we had really 3 great internal candidates. We selected Matt Stevens here, who joined the district, I'm going to say about 5 years ago, and came from the desert in SoCal. He worked at Eastern Municipal Water District, like a really big water district down there, working on the pipe crew, doing welding on big pipelines, probably some small ones too. And then went to the city of Banning, and then came here and was in our heavy maintenance department. And I do want to share just a quick story about Matt Stevens. Back when I was in engineering, we had an emergency leak on the domestic service for the hospital, probably our most important water service in town. It was also a leak that required us to take out their bypass. So basically both ways we could feed the hospital were out of service. This was we basically fixed it. I'm going to say the crew and our contractor fixed this pipeline in the middle of the night in the winter. It was snowing. We had like a bunch of valves, bunch of crosses, and in order to like fix that, we had to like section in a piece, and the guys fabricated this steel piece to like tie into everything in the field. Kind of an old school profession is pipe fitting, and you know, Matt really reminded me of an old school pipe fitter, and he's out there in his t-shirt in the middle of the night while it's snowing, and that is probably a good memory I have here. Very good. Do you have a prepared 5-minute speech?
No. It's an honor to be you guys. Thank you. I'm one of the primitive sort, so bear with me. I'm just looking to bring change and adaptability and learning new goals. So I look forward to working with you guys and asking for a lot of money. Thanks for your service.
All right. Anything else from staff and attorney reports? No? Nothing? If you have nothing, no.
I don't really have anything other than it's just more of a general comment. I did attend the city attorney's office, the city attorney's spring conference last year, and one of the prevailing issues with the use of AI in public agencies and the impact it will have on the Public Records Act. We're monitoring the situation, nothing formal to report yet, but there are some things coming up, or some basic understanding of what AI will do in terms of creating additional record retention requirements and what is and what is not a public record.
Okay, moving on to item 11, general manager report. Paul.
We just have one thing before we have our pre-closed session items. Before the board meeting, I met with Shane and Haven as the president and vice president of the board to let them know what my retirement plans are. And they're a little earlier than I had expected a year ago, the last time I had this discussion. And currently, I'm estimating that it's this February in 2027, so about 8.5 months from now. So probably the second meeting in June, we'll want to appoint an ad-hoc committee to continue these discussions and put together recruitment schedules down the road and just determine on, you know, how we want to move forward from here. But that's my report today.
I'm going to start working on the golf team earlier.
February in Tahoe, yeah.
No, you're going to do like
All right, well, congratulations, Paul. I guess we have some time to work through the next steps on that one. Okay. Item 12 is basically going through the notes of past and future meetings and events. Looks like we're closed on the 25th. And I'm going to adjourn this meeting and move in ourselves into closed session. Coming out of closed session, nothing to report. Adjourned.